Hey, Charles here on the program, and I got a scenario for you. It's happened to many of us. You jump into your car, you're headed somewhere, often in a hurry, only to end up your trip early because, well, you got into an auto accident. What happens next? Well, here to give us some information, I guess you could say, on how to be proactive is David Aylor, attorney at law. David, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
All right, so first thing we do, so you get into an accident, you're not, first of all, you know it's your fault. What do you do?
Well, if it's your fault, obviously you want to check and make sure, assuming you're okay, is to go check on whoever the other driver is or drivers, the other people in the car, yours and the other car for that matter.
Okay, but it's, okay, let's say it's not your fault. Then what do you do?
Well, you still want to check on everybody in both vehicles. You also want to maybe look around and see if there's any witnesses in the area, particularly depending on how bad the accident is. And then after that, what you always want to do is call 911.
All right, so now we've gotten rid of the obvious. Let's start talking about some things that maybe some people don't know. Like, for instance, let's say you get into an accident on public property, like in a parking lot. You're in the shopping mall, whatever you were doing, and two people back into each other. It's a little different then, right?
Right. Well, basically what you're going to look at is you're going to still try to call the police because you're personally probably not going to know whether or not that's going to be somewhere that they can cite a ticket, whether it's public or private property. And if not, if the police officer came, maybe at a minimum they'll take a report because at some point in time it's going to go to somebody's insurance coverage if they can determine who's at fault at all. And that's what you really want to try to figure out. And you don't want to be on your own to try to figure that out. You'd like the third party to help in that.
Right. Oftentimes if you do get in an accident, maybe you say that it's not your fault. Of course it becomes your word against their word. So then what do you do? Because if you take it to court, I mean, that's a lot to have to go through, especially if it's just a fender bender.
Right. Well, but the thing is, you don't want to have an accident on, your insurance. A lot of people don't realize that when they get in a car accident, even if the other person is originally cited, if they don't show up for court, that traffic date for that person who was cited, then the case will be dropped, which could affect their insurance and it could come back on them depending on what the insurance company decided. So you always want to show up for court, and you absolutely want to make sure that you do call the police, because when people say, for instance, hey, let me just pay you out of my pocket, that sort of thing, that doesn't work out. No, a lot of times that won't work out, and then you don't have anywhere to go with your accident.
Okay, let's say, for instance, and I know this has happened to some people that I know, a family member is driving your car, and you just think that I'm covered, anybody can drive my car and I'm covered, but then when they get into an accident, they call the insurance company, and the insurance company says they weren't covered to drive your vehicle. Then what do you do? Because everything's already happened.
Right. Well, ultimately, you're going to look at personal liability, whether that be on the person that actually owns the vehicle as well as the actual driver of the car. But you're exactly right. You need to check your policy to make sure who can drive it and who will be covered. Otherwise, it could get quite expensive. Right.
And speaking of getting expensive, let's just say, for instance, there's some people out there right now saying that exact same thing happened to me. I thought that my cousin was covered. I thought that this person was covered. They weren't. Someone was seriously injured, and now I'm dealing with all these medical bills. I don't know what to do. Should they try to get a lawyer?
Yeah, I think anytime you have a major accident, whether if you're on the side of the victim or the person that's been found at fault, it's definitely good to bring in counsel, because there's going to be a lot of steps in that process that you're not familiar with. And I had someone call recently who had missed the court date of the person who had hit her, and she said, well, now the insurance company's saying they don't know whose fault it is, and I missed a court date. What can I do? Well, that case was now dismissed. She had no idea that she should have gone to that court. Had she spoken with an attorney beforehand, that's something she wouldn't have missed.
Right. We see the commercials all the time where people say, time is of the essence. Like, you need to make sure if you were in an accident and you think it was someone else's fault, you need to tell somebody immediately. But a lot of people, they get scared. They say, well, I shouldn't have been doing this. I shouldn't have been doing that. And texting while driving can definitely get you into some trouble as well.
Absolutely. A lot of those things are left open, but I think that's where counsel could really come in and help. Small accidents, a lot of times lawyers aren't needed, but if you're involved in an accident, and whether you're at fault or the other person's at fault, a lot of times an attorney may try to contact you or the other insurance company and try to get a statement from you. You may say something in that statement that you don't really understand truly what you're saying and what the meaning of that could be. Then you can't take it back.
All right. Well, David Aylor, attorney at law in Charleston, thank you so very much for your help. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we're back with more Low Country Live right after the break. Stay with us.